Right, and I think we are live. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. As always with these live streams, let me know if you can hear me and see me okay. Been moving the microphone around a bit today, so yeah, just let me know if it's too loud, too quiet, and hopefully the chat's going to appear on the right-hand side. Hopefully it will. Welcome to another monthly Q&A. This is the monthly Q&A for June 2023. As always, I'm going to be going through all of the questions that I've been asked in advance on my Board Game Geek Guild. And then we're going to be going over to the questions that people are going to ask live. So yeah, thank you to everybody for joining me live. And hello to everybody watching this back afterwards, including those people that are watching this or listening to this on a podcast. The chat is not appearing on screen, so I'm not sure why. Now, I for those regular viewers of mine, you will know that in the last sort of month or two, I've actually switched off the live chat from the playthroughs that I do, from the live playthroughs that I do. The chat no longer appears on the screen. However, for the Q&As, it should be appearing on the screen, and it's not there. So yeah, I don't know. It could be that it's broken, and I wouldn't know if it's broken because I don't use it very often anymore. So yeah, apologies if it isn't there. Oh, it is there. Right, it's now working. Excellent. Right, we are working. And yes, I have an appropriate background picture due to the current weather in the UK, which is, well, hot is one adjective that you can use to describe it. Stifling is another one. Yeah, we're having a bit of a heat wave. So welcome to this month's live Q&A. As always, these videos are not sponsored in any way. All of the advertising revenue goes to charity, so a big thank you to all of my patron supporters for funding the channel. Many of you in the chat are patron supporters of mine, so thank you very much to you. And if you're not a patron supporter and you want to support the channel, patreon.com/gaming rules. Right, shall we head on over to the questions? So these are all of the questions that I've been asked on the guild over on Board Game Geek in advance. These are normally from questions for people who know that they can't make the live Q&A but want to ask me a question anyway. So what I do is I post a thread up on my guild and people can basically ask me questions on there. So unlike previous months, I haven't had a chance to look at these questions at all. I finished doing a playthrough of Aeon Trespass Odyssey earlier on and then frantically got everything ready for this, and I haven't had time to look through the questions. So apologies for that, and it means that some of these questions I might not be able to answer, but let's jump in. Now, what I have done is I noticed when I was quickly copying and pasting the questions over from the guild is that there were a few questions related to UK Games Expo, so I've merged all of them together. The first one is from Gavin Kenny. Was there anything at UK Games Expo, assuming that I went, I did go, that you saw that really liked the look of? Mario also says, what was your hidden gem from UK Games Expo? Is there something that you would like the Games Expo to change for next year? And Stuart says, what one thing would you want to change if you had the power to do so? For example, all the sellers in one hall, all the demos in another, etc., etc. So the first thing is, was there anything at UK Games Expo that I saw that I really liked the look of? Now, my attendance at UK Games Expo is a little different from a normal attendee. I don't go to UK Games Expo to try out new games or get demos of games or anything like that. I go to UK Games Expo these days. I work half the time. So this year I was running demos of Marrakesh and New York City at the Queen Games booth. And if you are watching this video and you are one of the people who I taught either of those games to, thank you very much for that. They were all good, apart from one of them. No, it was all fine. I'm only joking. So yeah, so I did that in the morning, and then I had lots of, it was a combination of meetings and just catchings up. So there were a couple of publishers that I wanted to actually sit down and have a good chat with, but it's a little weird because some of the publishers invite me to have meetings with them, and I speak to them 3 or 4 times a week. And also, a convention where they're in the middle of running a busy booth, for me, is not the best place. So I don't really go in for this whole, oh, let's have a meeting at a convention. The meetings that I have with publishers to discuss work stuff is normally done outside of a convention over email or messenger or video call or whatever. And at a convention, it's more of a catch-up. So it's the chance to actually go and physically see these people and say hello and things like that. I don't really do the whole business meeting thing. Other content creators do. I've heard lots of stories of, content creators going to America, having all of these meetings with publishers and coming back with all of these amazing deals where they're going to get paid huge amounts for making videos and things like that. And, in the years that I went to Gen Con, I didn't have a single meeting. I feel like I'm left out. But yeah, it just feels a bit at the odd place. But yeah, I spent most of my time catching up with people, friends, patron supporters, and some of my clients, and just chatting really and saying hello. So I didn't really walk around the halls looking for things, which means I don't really have a hidden gem from the expo. And I don't have anything that I saw that I really like the look of because I didn't really see it. I am, however, going to give a shout out for a game called Old King's Crown that a number of my patron supporters did see and said it looks absolutely fantastic and it is one to watch out for. So there you go. Multiple people said that. Booker said it, Adam said it, JP and Adrian from the Who's Tony's It Anyway podcast said it, and I think some other people said it as well. So yeah, Old King's Crown, apparently it looks really good. I may be covering it on the channel. I've got an email conversation that I need to have with them. Yeah, I mean, if you were at UK Games Expo and you're in the chat, then let me know. Let me know what you saw that you think was good. Or if you're watching this video back afterwards, leave me a comment. Just leave me a comment in the comments field of the video, and yeah, what did you think? What would I change if I had the power to do so? I mean, if the NEC was bigger, well, the thing is, we get Hall 1 and we get Hall 2 and we get Hall 3. There are other things going on at the NEC as well. So what they could do is they could stop using the Hilton rooms and just use the NEC rooms, and at least then everything would be in one place. But the way that it is now, I think it works really well in that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think most of the role-playing stuff is in the Hilton. So I never went to the Hilton whatsoever. There might be some events that go on at the Hilton. But yeah, and I think now there is this nice mix, and especially when the weather's nice, it's a really nice 10-minute walk between the Hilton and the NEC. So there's always quite a lot of people going back and forth between the two. As I say, I never went to the Hilton at all because I didn't have any need to. So if they were to stop using the Hilton event rooms and just moved it into the all of the stuff in the NEC, I think some of the smaller rooms in the Hilton are better suited for what they use it for. So yeah, I don't know what I would change if I had the power to do so in terms of the organisation of the event. So yeah, is there something that I would like the Games Expo to change for next year? And Stuart said, if I had the power to change anything, what would I change? I honestly can't think of anything. But again, what do you think? You know, if you were an attendee of UK Games Expo, leave me a comment, let me know. I can pass that on to Richard. If enough people say, oh, this needed changing, I know Richard, and I speak to Richard. He dropped me an email earlier on today to let me know how much money we raised at the charity event. So yeah, I can pass that message on to him. But I can't think of anything offhand that I would change about it. I'm no longer responsible for running a booth. So for many, many years, I ran the CGE booth for Czech Games Edition, which meant hiring the carpets and the furniture and all of that. I don't do any of that anymore. And I know that there were problems this year yet again. So I guess if there was one thing I could change, even though it's nothing to do with me, is they need to get more competent people installing the furniture. Because every single year there are issues. And these people get paid a lot of money for delivering tables, chairs and setting up walls. And every single year there are multiple occasions of them constantly getting it wrong. Anyway, there you go. That's what I'd change, even though it's nothing to do with me. Right. Stuart is also asking, if I had the resources and time, what one thing of UK Games Expo would I want to bring to GridCon? See, GridCon is for those people who don't know, GridCon is the convention that me and Vicky run. It's 300 people. It happens in November. It's in a hotel in Taunton. There are some great bits of UK Games Expo, but I don't know whether a lot of UK Games Expo things we would be able to accommodate. You know, it'd be really good if we ran some tournaments, but we don't have the space and we have the capacity for that. I think GridCon works really well as it is. Sure, there are certain things about UK Games Expo that are great that would be, you know, if we had a bigger venue, then, you know, it would be great to have them. But yeah, I think it's a different feel. GridCon's got a different feel. Right, next question from Mike. How many of your board games do you think you will still own, stroke play, in 10 to 20 years? Now, Vicky's got a wry smile on her face because those are two completely different questions. I have many games in my collection, some of which I haven't played for 10 years, but I'm never going to get rid of them. So yeah, how many of my current games will I own in 10 years? Now, all I know is that last year in the GridCon charity raffle, I gave away, I think it was 75 games of my collection. So if we assume that I'm going to give away roughly 75 games a year, then in 10 years' time, that's 750 games that I've given away, which means I'll have no games left. But no, because what actually happens is that I acquire probably more than 75 games each year. So of the 75 games that I give away each year, it isn't just the oldest ones. Quite often I will get a game that I will cover on the channel. I'll play it 2 or 3 times and then I go, okay, it was good, or maybe it wasn't so good, but I'm not going to keep this in my collection. I'm going to move it on. So thinking back of all of those games that I put into the charity raffle last November, in fact, probably 20 of them were just spare copies that I'd acquired over the years. So let's say 50 of my own collection. Of those 50, 30 of them probably arrived that year. So there is a relatively high turnover. But how many of my, what percentage, let's do it as a percentage, what percentage of my current board games that I have in that room will still be there in 10 years' time? I don't know. I mean, I'm going to guess and say 50%. Ballpark figure. You think higher? 60%? Higher? Anybody seen Play Your Cards Right recently? What do we get for a Brucey bonus? 75%? 70%. So Vicky reckons 70% of the games in my collection. Right, I'll tell you what. Shall we do this? Right, what we're going to do, just for you, Mike, sometime later this week, maybe even tonight, I'm going to go into the hobby room. I'm going to take a photograph of the games on the shelves, or alternatively, we could just export my BGG collection to a spreadsheet. I will then set a reminder for 10 years from today, and in 10 years' time, we'll have a look at it again. How does that sound? So, Mike, give me a call on the 14th of June, 2033, and we will get the answer to that question. And then what I'll do is I will time travel back to now, and I'll put a percentage on screen of what it is. Oh, if only I could do that. Right, that's what we're going to do. So Mike is saying that he went from 110 to 45 games by getting rid of games that were just okay to focus his time on games that he thought were great. And I absolutely agree with that. Nobody needs as many games in the collection as I have. I have so many games in my collection that are simply not going to get played. And what's the point of having games that are not going to get played? So I've had to be a little bit more ruthless recently. But yeah, he's gone from 110 to 45. So yeah, he still thinks that out of those 45 games, in 10 years' time, he can see himself only playing Spirit Island and the Arkham Horror LCG. So out of 45 games, only 2 of them he thinks will still be there in 10 years' time. The rest of them will probably gradually disappear. That's a really interesting thought, and I'm curious to know what you think about this. In fact, I think what I'll do is I'll start a thread on the BGG Guild about this, because I think this is quite an interesting discussion, and I'm really curious to know. Yeah, if you're watching this video back, leave me a note in the comments. Let me know how many games are in your collection, and let me know in 10 years' time how many of those games you think will still be in your collection. Right, next question, and we're now on to the important stuff. Brian's biscuit questions. We need like a little jingle for Brian's biscuit questions. What's the highest number of biscuits that you've ever eaten in a day? So for me, it's probably a packet. And this is one reason why we don't have packets of biscuits in the house, because as soon as you open them, you're like, oh, I'll just have another one, and I'll just have another one. And I'm pretty sure I've eaten an entire pack of chocolate hobnobs in a day. But then the brain will kick in and probably go, no, I'm not going to go downstairs and have any more. So I'd probably say an entire packet. What's the most disappointing supermarket knockoff version of a biscuit you've ever tried? So apparently Aldi and Lidl do versions of the Tunnocks caramel wafers that we know Brian's a big fan of. And they're not very good. So, yeah, I don't know, actually. Because a lot of the Aldi knockoff ones are actually just as good. So I'm not sure. Any thoughts? No. We're not very good tonight, are we? Talking of knockoffs, back to the games. Have you ever been surprised when playing a new game to find out that it is mostly just a re-implementation of an older game? Yes. And actually that happened not that long ago. When I got the Star Wars deck building game. And I was very excited because it's Star Wars. It's a deck building game. It's from Fantasy Flight Games. I was very, very, very excited about it. And then I got it. And it's Star Realms with a twist. At which point I was not only surprised, but I was also a little bit disappointed because I'm in the minority of people that thinks Star Realms is a terrible game. So, yeah, apologies to any Star Realms fans out there. But, yeah, I don't like the game. I think it's a bad game. And Star Wars, the deck building game, is basically 80% or 90% Star Realms. And yeah, I was surprised and a bit disappointed. Saying that, I've played it 2 or 3 times and I've enjoyed it for what it is, but I don't think I'd enjoy Star Realms. Anyway, have I ever tried, this is still Brian, have I ever tried Mage Light? Mage Light is a very small version of Mage Knight, and I've never tried it. In fact, I'd forgotten all about it until you've mentioned it again. So no, I've not got round to trying that. But yeah, if you have, let me know. Mage Light, is it any good? Let me know what you think. Right, next question from Bobby. What do I think about the experience and player balance on the different player counts for Root and Hegemony? Are there other games that are having a similar level of asymmetry? So, first of all, what do I think about the experience on different player counts for Root and Hegemony? Well, I can answer the Root question easily because I've not played it and I am unlikely to play it. Hegemony, I have mostly played at 4. Have I ever played a game at less than 4? Fewer than 4. I think I might have done, but I can't quite remember. So most of my games of Hegemony, or Hegemony, if you want to call it that, have been at 4 players. I've not played it at 2. I'm pretty sure I haven't played it at 2, unless I did a practice game at 2, but that doesn't really count. So no, I can't really comment on the player balance at the different player counts, I'm afraid. What I will tell you though, and this was talked about on the Slack channel earlier this week, is that one of the designers has proposed a tweak to the rules for the state. Because now that the game is out there and now that the game is getting played a lot more, some reports are that the state is winning a higher percentage of games than they should. So they've made a couple of tweaks and suggestions to the state player to reduce the number of victory points that it gets. If you've got the game and you're interested in the game, then definitely check that thread out on Board Game Geek, wherever it is. And are there any other games which have a similar level of asymmetry? I think there are. One that springs to mind is a game which I haven't had a chance to play myself, which is the Defense of Procyon 3 from David Turtsey. But that is very asymmetric as far as I understand. There are also many 2-player asymmetric games, such as Watergate, So You've Been Eaten. Yeah, lots of games like that, which are 2-player asymmetric games. And it's interesting because those games don't ever get mentioned. When people talk about asymmetric games, they all talk about, Root and Hegemony and all of these other big games like that. But nobody seems to talk about the 2-player asymmetric games, which are very different in what they play. Right, next question from Rob. Have I watched any of the Star Wars Vision series? Do you have any idea what the Star Wars Vision series is? No. So I looked it up, and there's been 2 seasons of it, and I've never heard of it before. So I looked it up quickly earlier on, but no, I've not seen it. So I don't really know what it is. Let's look it up again. Star Wars Vision, because we do have Disney Plus and we do like Star Wars and we do watch a lot of them. So Star Wars Visions is an animated, right? So we're not that keen on animated stuff. Animated anthology series created for the American streaming service Disney Plus, consisting of original animated short films set in or inspired by the Star Wars universe. So, no, we haven't seen it, and that's not something that we would probably move to the top of our list. Certainly, it would be lower on our list than the live action stuff. But yeah, if it's any good, there was 9 episodes in Volume 1, 9 episodes in Volume 2. So yeah, not seen it. Right. Where's the questions gone? There's the questions. Klaus says, what are my thoughts on sharing negative critiques or even doubts about upcoming games and or expansions? So there's a backstory to this, which will hopefully help me understand what the question is. So the backstory to this, Klaus has been watching a playthrough prior to an upcoming Kickstarter from a famous designer. So there's a game right now, or at least when this question was posted last week, which is high on the hotness list. It is an upcoming Kickstarter game from a famous designer, and it's on another channel. It's not on my channel. It's on another channel. There was a negative comment about the game, and the channel owner asked the person never to post on the channel again. So, Klaus, I would like to know more about this. If you're not happy sharing it in public, let me know privately, because I won't sleep tonight now that there is information in the world that I want to know that I don't know. So if you can get in contact with me and let me know the story behind this, because I do want to know. But apparently there was another channel and somebody left a comment on that channel with a negative comment about the game. And the person who owned the channel asked them never to post on that channel again. Klaus says, I found that strange since the negative critiques are the most credible. Absolutely agree with you, 100%. People have finite time, space and money to make difficult or informed choices. Yeah, right. So, first of all, just touching on one of the things you said. And I'll try not to go down a massive rabbit hole and get really angry about this, but there's been some discussion and controversy over certain YouTube channels that cover board games that do what are called paid previews, where they get paid money to showcase the game and tell you how great the game is. Now, just to be clear, I also get paid by some publishers to do videos for games that are coming out on Kickstarter. So what's the difference? The difference is the videos that I do are instructional. We don't spend our time in the video showing you how great it is. We show you the game and we show you how the game plays, and then we play through the game, or we give you information about the game, and then we let you make your own decision. I don't create the kind of videos where I am all hype, go and buy this game, this is the best game ever. There are other channels that do that, not just the one in question. There are other channels out there who create this kind of content. And if they want to create the content and they're comfortable creating that content, and publishers want to pay for that content, and consumers want to watch that content, that's absolutely fine, right? It's not for me, and I will never, ever watch a video like that, okay? If I ever come across a paid promotional video for a game which isn't a playthrough like the ones that I create, I have no interest in watching it, because you are not going to get that person's honest opinion of the game, and you are only going to hear the positives. Whereas there are other channels out there, and I could name a couple just off the top of my head. Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., Johannes and Sunniver from Board Gaming Ramblings, people like that, right? There's many others available, and they do videos for games that are coming out on Kickstarter. But the big difference is they're not paid. They weren't paid to create those videos. They rely on their Patreon support, YouTube advertising revenue, and everything else. And the reason why I've picked on those two, and as I say, others are available, is that they will actually give you the good points and the bad points. And that, just touching on what Klaus said, the negative critique is actually the most valuable. There is also one other channel that I do want to mention, and some of you might disagree with it, but I'm good friends with Richard Ham, Rado. And although Rado gets paid to create videos for games coming on Kickstarter, he is so well established and he has built up a reputation for being honest that when he does his final thoughts videos, he will talk about things in the game that he doesn't like. Now, Richard gets a lot of negativity because some people think he loves every single game that's going, right? And he's always 100% positive about every single game ever. He's not. He's very excitable, just like I am. We're excited because we're playing games. We love games. And yeah, he does like a lot of games. But when I'm watching one of Richard's videos, I know that if he's got something negative to say about the game, something that he doesn't like, he will say it. And it's those negative critiques that I personally find far more useful than any video where somebody just goes, this is the best game ever, go and buy it, this is fantastic, look at this, look at this. No, I've no interest in any videos like that. Unfortunately, those are the videos that get the views. And those are the videos that get more YouTube views, more subscribers, more engagement, everything. That's just the way it is. Anyway, I said I wouldn't rant too much and then spent 10 minutes ranting. So yeah, Klaus, tell me about this, because I think that's wrong. I mean, if I did, I mean, I have done this. This has happened to me. I have done Kickstarter videos for games where we have taught the game and we've played the game, and there's been negative comments about the game in the video. There's no way that I would ever delete that comment, you know, or ask that person never to post again. That's just weird. That's just weird. So yeah, let me know who this is. Let me know who it is. Right, anyway, moving on. Keith says he hopes that just one event went well at UK Games Expo. Yeah, so for those people who don't know, I ran a just one live event at UK Games Expo this year. All of the ticket proceeds went to charity, so I didn't make any money out of it myself. And I've had the thing through from Richard of UK Games Expo, and we raised £570 or something like that, because they had to take off the VAT. Then they had to put a little bit towards the room hire. Then Richard had to take his cut because he's saving up for a new helicopter. Just kidding. But yeah, so we raised loads of money. So yeah, big thank you to everybody who supported me by coming along to that event and buying tickets. And a big thank you to Stephen Bonacore, who was not able to make the event, but bought 4 tickets anyway, because he just wanted to make a donation to charity. And a few other people did that as well. A few other people bought tickets knowing that they weren't going to be able to make it, just because they wanted to contribute. So thank you very much for that. Was there any thought of having a similar event stroke game at GridCon 4? I'm absolutely happy for anybody who is attending GridCon 4 to come up with some ideas of special events to do. As for whether I would be able to be involved in them or not, my focus for GridCon has to be on the running of the event. Now, that's not to say that I can't sneak away for half an hour and do something like that. But, yeah, there's all sorts of things we can do for GridCon 4. When it gets nearer the time, there was talk about doing a pub quiz one night in the bar area. Great, things like that. And it might be that I'm able to come along and help out with that, but my focus has to be on running the event. Keith also says, how many minutes later did we decide not to be so daft given the effort we put into organising the event? Yeah. How many minutes later did we decide? Oh, that's if we do something like that. Yeah, so this has happened many times in my life, and Vicky will attest to this. I come up with these great ideas, and then when we actually come to do them, it takes a lot more work than planned, causes a lot more stress, causes a lot more anxiety, and I think, why did I do that? And I'm still doing that now. I'm still making these mistakes by doing these things that I think will be a good idea, and actually it ends up being just a massive time-consuming exercise that doesn't actually achieve anything. Anyway, Matthew says, thanks for my coverage of the Apex Legends game. He says this one was not initially on his radar because he's not an FPS gamer and he doesn't know anything about or care about the Apex Legends franchise. But my opinion of the game in the monthly review got him curious to watch the playthrough, and he ended up backing it on Kickstarter. He appreciates the way that I always give my genuine thoughts. Yeah, and this is touching on what I said earlier on, where some seem to just sell good praise for a price. So yeah, thank you very much for that. And yeah, what he's referring to is that every month, in addition to these live Q&As, funded through the Patreon channel, I do a monthly best games of the month video log where I basically talk about all of the games that I've played in the month. And whilst in the sponsored video itself, I'm not going to give you any opinions on the game, I am a little bit more honest and open in those videos than I am on others. So, as a shameless plug to try and get more views on my best games of the month video log, if you are watching this and you don't watch my monthly video logs, the last two have been very long because I've had a lot to talk about. I used to try and keep them to 45 minutes. The last two have been an hour and a half, or almost an hour and a half. But yeah, in those video logs, I do cover a bit more of my honest thoughts about the game. So I kind of half cross that line, but I will never do the opinions within the actual video itself. And yeah, it still makes me a little uncomfortable because I'm sure there are some people who go, well, wait a minute, Paul, you were paid to make a video on Apex Legends, and then in your own personal video log, you say how great it is. Well, how can we trust you? If you don't trust me, then that's your decision, okay? But the people who regularly follow and know me know that you can trust my opinions. They are mine. If I think a game is great and I really enjoyed the game, I will say that. If I think there are problems with the game and some parts need looking at, I will say that as well. Anyway, questions are, in regards to board game companies using crowdfunding that have been having financial difficulties, do I think it becomes riskier than it was 3 to 5 years ago to back games on Kickstarter? 100% yes, right? That is the easiest question that I've been asked all month. Thank you very much for that easy question. Is it riskier right now to back a game on Kickstarter than it was 3 to 5 years ago? Yes, it is. And that's simply because of what's been happening with certain publishers who haven't been managing things correctly. But as a counterpoint to that, I will say this. There are certain publishers out there who have unfortunately been affected in a negative way by the general feeling that's been growing in the board gaming hobby for the last 6 to 12 months of it's too risky to back games on Kickstarter. There are certain publishers who I know who are absolutely trustworthy, who always deliver, who've got a very safe business model, who are financially sound, who don't run a Ponzi scheme of one game supporting another one. And unfortunately, there are people who are not supporting their games because they think, oh no, it's too risky. So that's the downside of this. Yeah, the good side of this is hopefully we're not going to get any more publishers who run into these issues, because I think people need to start being a bit smarter. They've got away with it for way too long. What examples of a company's behaviour or practices in crowdfunding campaigns should trigger a red flag? I'm really not the best person to answer that because I'm sort of on the outside of things, and I'm not somebody who looks at games on Kickstarter all the time. So yeah, it's a good question. And in fact, let's put that question on the guild. So this is a question. If Chris is watching, if you can turn this into a question for the guild. This is a question from, and I will put the name in the chat because I will probably pronounce this wrong. There you go. So I'm going to say it's Matthew. It's a question from Matthew, and it's regarding games on, let's say, crowdfunding platforms, Kickstarter and GameFound. What signs are there that something would give you a red flag? Because I'm curious to know. And I'm sure some of my supporters, some of the people listening to this might also want to know, and I can't answer that question. So, speaking of the guild, the guild number is 2258. If you want to head on over to BGG right now, if you are not a member of the guild, Vicky's going to put a link in the flag. And I've just seen a message from Kanye. Thank you very much. He's got a list for red flags. Excellent, Kanye. So, head on over to the guild. In about 5 minutes' time, hopefully, there will be a question on that guild, basically around what are the red flag signs on Kickstarter campaigns that make you nervous? And thank you in advance to everybody who answers that question on there. Right, next question from Chris Dearlove. Thankfully, I haven't ordered these, but thankfully we now have a question to lighten the mood a little bit. You'll like this one. Have you seen it? So Chris Dearlove, a good friend of mine from a long, long time ago, he says he's noticed that one of my favourite adjectives is fantastic. I do say fantastic a lot on videos. It was also the favourite adjective of Christopher Eccleston as the Eighth Doctor. Is there any connection that we should know about? Brilliant question. There isn't any connection. But yeah, you're absolutely right that when I'm saying how good a game is, if I've played a game that I've really, really enjoyed, fantastic is my adjective of choice. So moving on. Kenneth. Kenneth listened to my monthly video log where I said I finally played Wingspan. Yes. So in last month's monthly video log, I have finally played Wingspan. Not the physical version. My physical version is still in the other room. I haven't played that, but I played a couple of games of it on Board Game Arena. Are there any similarly massively popular and or highly rated games that I have not yet played? Yes, there are. People keep telling me about Everdell. I haven't played Everdell. Obsession. I still haven't played Obsession. What else? Anybody in the chat knows what big, massive, popular games I've not played? It was Dune Imperium until fairly recently. So, yeah, I'm trying to think. Definitely Everdell. Definitely, what was the second one I've just mentioned? Obsession. To a lesser extent, Century Spice Road. That's not as big as the other two, I think. Yeah. Clank. Rick says Clank. Yeah, Clank. Another. I've not played any versions of Clank whatsoever. And everybody keeps telling me about Clank and how great it is and things like that. Marco says Monopoly D&D. No, I've that one can go. So yeah, Hadrian's Wall is one. Maybe not as massively popular as the other ones, but Hadrian's Wall does get a lot of love. Kanye's doing a lot of live streams of him playing Hadrian's Wall. So if you want to go and check that out, it's Kanye Studios on YouTube. Tom Heath has covered Hadrian's Wall a lot, and it really does like my kind of game as well. I've just one of those games that I've not got around to playing. So yeah, there's a few of them. Next question from Kenneth. When playing a game for the first time, which do I think is better from the perspective of the gaming experience itself? Going into it cold to avoid having other people's opinions affecting the experience, or knowing what other people are saying about the first game so that you don't waste time playing bad games? Absolutely 100% going in cold. And that is because there are certain games out there which are absolutely awful, terrible games, really badly designed, completely imbalanced, and just a waste of time, and some people love them. And there are also games out there that are amazing games, absolutely perfectly designed, well-tuned games that are absolutely fantastic that some people hate. So I think from an experience point of view, you should generally go in cold. It's quite hard to go in cold these days, because, you know, there's so much information out there on the internet that you think, oh, I'm thinking of getting this game. I'll go and watch 3 or 4 reviews. You're already tainted. You're already setting yourself up. And the analogy that I've got for this is when I sort of made a conscious decision a few years ago to stop watching trailers for films, because they were affecting my thoughts on the film before I went into it. And I found it better to just go into it cold and not actually know anything about it, so that you can then form your own opinion, because otherwise you're already tainted. Yeah. Last question from Kenneth, and then we're going to just talk about the contest, because I'm going to be doing a contest. Right. Oh, he said, look forward to your thoughts on the issue. He thinks most people would say the latter, as time and money are limited. Yeah, I think personally, for the best experience, you should go in cold. But I think most people don't do that because, as you say, time and money are limited, and you're not going to buy a game cold. You're probably going to read some reviews beforehand. Anyway, right, let's have a short break from the questions and just talk about the contest. So every month, thanks to the support of the Patreon campaign, I'm able to do a contest where I give away £50 worth of games vouchers from Games Law. Now, £25 of those vouchers come from Games Law themselves, so a big thank you to Games Law for giving me £25 of vouchers to give away. And the other £25 comes from me. And one of you who is watching this video or listening to this as a podcast will win £50. All you need to do to enter is you need to go to the link which is being put in the chat right now. It is a Google form, and you will also find this link in the description of the video. And you have to put in your name, your email address, whether you are a Patreon supporter or not, because Patreon supporters get an extra ticket, and the secret word. Except the secret word this month is 3 words, and those words are Princes of Florence. This is the new version of Princes of Florence that arrived earlier today, and I am doing a live playthrough of this on Friday. So Patreon supporters will get access to that. It will be live streamed to Patreon supporters on Friday, and then I will be making the video live at some point next week. So yeah, new version of Princes of Florence, one of the first Euro games that I ever played back in 99 or 2000, I think. And this is the new version of it, which arrived today. So that's the secret word. And yeah, as I say, big thank you to Games Law, and a big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for making these giveaways possible. The winner for last month's giveaway was Craig Cameron. Congratulations, Craig. I was going to say Cameron then. And yeah, I'll send you an email later on with how you redeem your vouchers. Right, back to the questions, and we've got quite a few. We might be late today. I've been talking a lot. Right, next question from Tiglet. What game have you been persuaded to play by friends that you really didn't think you would enjoy, and then you discovered is an absolute better game? And conversely, what game have you looked forward to playing with friends that you've been disappointed by? What game was it that made the two games so vastly different from your expectations? Oh, right. So, first of all, what game have I been persuaded to play by friends that you really didn't think you would enjoy, but then I enjoyed it? I mean, let's refer to Wingspan. Cat in the Box. Yeah, so Wingspan, I went into Wingspan based on what most people had said about it, which was, it's an okay game. It's just okay. It's nothing special. It's very mediocre, and it's just all right. You can play it and leave it. And I played it, so I went into it with very low expectations, and actually, I quite enjoyed it. Since then, I mean, I enjoyed the experience of playing it. Since then, I've come away and I've thought about it a bit, and I have thought, yeah, I can see what people are saying by that kind of thing. But yeah, I enjoyed that more than I thought. And Cat in the Box, when Mark described Cat in the Box to me, he made it sound like it was some bluffing game where you have to lie about what cards you are playing and things like that and the other. Anyway, I played Cat in the Box and found it was absolutely fantastic. So there's a couple of them. But otherwise, what game have I looked forward to playing with friends and then been bitterly disappointed? There's not been many recently. I'll be honest with you, there haven't been many games that I've played recently where I could say that I was bitterly disappointed. There was definitely a few from last year, but I might struggle to find one this year that I've played that I was really disappointed by. I'd have to look through my my full list of plays to find out, but I can't think of anything offhand. Right, next question's from Angus. What is my favourite comics genre? So if I'm understanding that correctly, we're talking about, is it superheroes, or is it something else, or is it something else? I do read a few graphic novels. I don't know if I've got a favourite, because I do read a lot of the Marvel graphic novels. I have read some of the DC graphic novels from the year one, I think it was, Batman year one or something like that. But I've also read Gotham Central, which is set in the world of Batman, but is actually more about the police department. That was fantastic. But probably the best graphic novels that I've ever read is Lock and Key. Lock and Key were exceptional. So that's probably, I don't know what that genre is, because I think Lock and Key is defined as horror. And I'm not a horror person myself, really. But yeah, Lock and Key was very good. What is my favourite comic book character? Probably I'd have to, well, it's interesting. So you're saying comic book character rather than, because I've always got a soft spot for Iron Man, because Iron Man was one of the first Marvel films, or was it the first one? I can never remember. It's either that or Hulk. I can never remember which one was the first. And that sparked, obviously, years and years of Marvel films. So I always liked the Iron Man character because it was the start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of thing. But I don't know whether I've got an actual favourite comic book character. I don't think I've got one. Right, next question from Stuart. And this is touching on the thing that we talked about earlier on, with the spotlight at the moment on paid reviews and the power that certain content creators have due to their higher viewer numbers. Is there a risk that game producers start hiring in-house reviewers and playthrough experts? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to have that. I think the role of the content creator to produce content for their games in terms of reviews and things like that is, for the most part, is always going to be done externally. There are, and I'm going to talk about Chip Theory Games here, a company which I'm a big fan of and I love what they do. Chip Theory Games are starting to do more and more stuff internally because they have the skills, they have the experience, and they have the ability to do that. So Chip Theory Games have started doing that, but on the whole, most publishers don't do the video thing themselves. They don't, I mean, some of them probably have the right skill set, but they also don't have the target reach or the target audience, on their own YouTube channels. Next question from Stuart, talking about viewership numbers and associated offers of work. Would some sort of referral link to the game website or Kickstarter help to show game producers who is actually generating potential sales for them? So one of the things which some publishers do, whenever there is a game on Kickstarter, is they will give me a personalized referral link. Now, what that means is anybody who is watching my video on a game that has gone on Kickstarter, if they click on that link, it will take them to the page. And if they then back it, that will flag up and the publisher will know that came from me. Now, personally, I don't request those referral links, and that is because the conversion rate is disappointingly low. Even people who watch my videos, who then go on to back a game after watching my video, will generally just Google it. 99% of people don't even look at YouTube descriptions. They don't even see it. And a part of that problem is a lot of people now are watching videos on their mobile devices and it's really hard to get to that actual stuff. So, I'm the same. I'll watch a video on a game back when I did this. If I then decide, I'm going to go and back that game on Kickstarter, I will go Google Kickstarter Trickerion or whatever. I'm not going to use somebody's referral link just because it's not something that I think about. So personally, I don't use referral links that much. And I think part of that is because I know my referral links aren't going to provide much conversion. And if I offer a referral link and I suggest to the publisher, give me a referral link, and literally 0 people use it, that publisher's not going to use me again for any other Kickstarter video. So by not having one, it's safer for me. Do I provide stats to clients, or do they actively monitor my channel when I do paid for work? I can tell you this. I can tell you that publishers who are looking to hire people like myself to create videos for their upcoming projects will 100% be looking at subscriber numbers, views on the video, and engagement. And I don't want to get all negative about that, but this is the reality of the situation. And over the last year, some of my existing clients that used to hire me to do videos now get other people to do videos. And they have admitted to me, they have said this to me in person, that my videos are better quality, but my videos don't get the views and don't get the engagement. And that's what marketing is all about. So they will pay usually more money to another channel to cover their game for a video which in their eyes is not as good as the videos I would make, but their video gets more views, gets more engagement, and that's what they look at. So if you are one of those people who watches any of my videos, that thumbs up and leaving a comment that we always ask for, we're not just asking for that because we like seeing comments. I mean, we love seeing comments. And we're not just asking for that because it helps the YouTube algorithm. We're asking for that because if I do a video on a game and it has literally 2 people saying, great video, Paul, then the publisher will see that, as opposed to somebody else's video who's got 100 comments saying, wow, this game looks great, I'm going to go and back it now, whatever. And I'm not saying go onto my videos and start adding comments like that so publishers see them. Only do it if it has done that. I don't want people to lie or do anything like that, but comment on videos, engagement on videos really, really does help. And as I've mentioned in private to people on my Slack channel, that's one of the things where my channel has been struggling over the last couple of years, is that the number of comments and the amount of engagement has been dropping. And whilst people might say, oh, well, that's happening all across the field, there are certain other channels who do similar videos to mine who literally get 10 times the amount of comments. So it's not just me. Well, no, it is just me, but, you know, it's not a problem that affects everybody. Anyway, moving on. Next question from Antonio. He says he got Rebuilding Seattle. He loves it. Great, because it's a fantastic game. What's a city you'd like to rebuild in a board game? A city that I'd like to rebuild in a board game? Oh, I don't know. I can't think of any city that I'd like to rebuild. I mean, it's a good question, but I don't know if I can answer that one. Because rebuilding a city, you might think, well, that means it's bad, or it's badly laid out, or it's badly organised, or something like that. Yeah, I can't think of a city offhand that I would want to rebuild in a board game in terms of knocking it down and rebuilding it up again. I don't know. I'm not sure. Right, Brian is back with a non-biscuit related question. He watched my Voidfall playthrough this afternoon. For those people who don't know, I've done 2 Voidfall playthroughs in the last couple of weeks, which were streamed to Patreon supporters. So these are behind the scenes videos of me learning how to play the game and practicing teaching it to other people. And those are not really suitable for public consumption because I'm going to be creating some proper how to play videos on the game. So videos of me and a couple of friends behind the scenes playing the game, getting all of the rules wrong, that's not something that is really going to go public. Anyway, Brian is one of my Patreon supporters, so he has access to those videos. It does look like a beast, yeah, but it's less of a beast than I thought. How many hours of effort will it take to produce the video, including reading the rulebooks, learning and teaching the game in multiple modes, scripting, filming and editing, and no doubt several other steps that you've missed? You've got most of it there. You've got most of the process. It is a huge undertaking. And in fact, earlier on this morning, me and Vicky sat downstairs with my plans for the next 6 months, trying to estimate how long it would take me to produce the Voidfall videos, because I've booked out, I think, about 9 weeks in my schedule. And I've got another big project, Aeon Trespass Odyssey, that I might be doing this year, but I need to be able to fit it in. So I don't know, right? I mean, I can give you a rough guess. I think it's going to be about 60 to 80 hours of work. Rough ballpark figure. Now, I'm only covering the competitive version of the game. I am likely to do a playthrough of the solo version of the game, but at the moment, there are no plans for me to do a how to play video for the cooperative version of the game. Only the competitive version of the game is what I'm focusing on. So yeah, it's about that. But that's my process. That's how long it takes. And if you've seen any of my how to play videos, they are fully scripted. The script is tested. I don't just get the rulebook and convert the rulebook into a script. I learn the game properly. I learn the best way of teaching the game, and then I create the video script that matches the way that I think is the best way to teach the game, which isn't just copying the rulebook. Anybody could take the rulebook and literally convert that into a video, take loads of images, put them together. That's I'm not saying anybody can do it. There is still a skill there. But I think where I excel is the writing the script to suit the way that the game is taught. And I've got better over the years. Some of my really early videos, I look back and go, oh, why did I do that in that order? Like my Lisboa video, I think is one of my least favourite. The structure of that video, I think, is completely off, but lots of people say it's good. Anyway, Dan says, how would I rank the giants in the big pile of unique cards stroke tableau engine builder genre of games? So the ones he's talking about are the ones where you have a big pile of unique cards. So we're talking Terraforming Mars, Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, Ark Nova, Earth, Wingspan, and he's also saying Underwater Cities, though he says that feels a bit off to the side. Yeah, I think so too. We're not going to count Underwater Cities. So we're talking about Terraforming Mars, or Terraforming Mars the card game, or Ark Nova, Earth, or Wingspan. These are all games with a big deck of cards, and every single card is unique. So where would I rate them? Now, I've been going on a bit of a journey with Ark Nova over the last year. I think it's a good game. I think it's a very good game. But I, after 30 or 40 games of it, have started to feel that the luck factor of the card draw is more pronounced than it is in Terraforming Mars. So for me, out of all of those, Terraforming Mars is my favourite. I love Terraforming Mars. I never get tired of playing it. And I think it's a great game. So yeah, Terraforming Mars is probably my favourite of those. Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition or Ark Nova. I would probably put Ark Nova second. I would probably put either Earth or Ares Expedition next, and then I'd put Wingspan at the bottom. Out of all of those, yeah, I think that's my current ranking. Right, and that is it. So we've now been through all of the questions that I've been asked in advance. A big thank you to everybody who's asked all of those questions, and I have spent a bit longer on those than I do normally. So just going to have a very short break, and to remind you of the contest. Don't forget to enter the contest. If you are watching this video live right now, apparently we have 97 people watching this live, although you're one of, Vicky's one of them, Vicky's two of them, and I'm one of them. So we've got 94 people watching this live. Enter the contest now. Please enter the contest. I don't get anything for it, so it doesn't actually matter. If one of you enters the contest, you're going to win. Anyway, the secret word is Princess of Florence. If you are a patron supporter, you get 2 entries into the contest, and then I'll do the random draw. Now, the prize draw is done. I'll tell you when the prize draw is going to happen. The prize draw is going to happen on the morning of Wednesday, the 12th of July. So, if you're watching this video in 3 weeks' time, and you think, oh, I've missed the contest, you haven't missed the contest. You have until the 12th of July, 2023, to enter the contest. And I'm saying that because it's really interesting that these videos get about 100 people watching live, but then overall they will get about 1,000 views. So we've got 100 people watching this live, and there'll be 900 people watching this back afterwards. Most of the entries into the contest come within the first 24 hours. After that, almost nobody enters the contest. That could be because nobody's watching the video after a few days. But yeah, what I'm saying is enter the contest you've got from now until the 12th of July. So good luck to everybody. See-through box. Is it see-through? Oh, it's see-through because it's because I'm at a green screen. There you go. It's kind of like a teal colour here. But yeah, it looks quite cool actually. It's weird if you put it in front of my head, because then all of a sudden, yeah, it all goes funny. Anyway, that's the secret word, Princess of Florence. So now we're on to the live questions. So these are all questions that have been asked by people since we've been live. How many do we have? We have quite a few. Okay, we'll give it another 10 minutes. See how fast I get through these questions. Right. So Weijen says, what was the last book you finished reading and did you enjoy it? Right. So I don't read books. I listen to audiobooks, but I don't read physical books. The last book that I finished reading was book 2 of the Farseer trilogy from Robin Hobb. I am halfway through the 3rd book, and when did I last read it? 10 years ago. So yeah, the last time I actually had a physical book and I read a physical book was probably about 10 years ago. And it's book 3 in the Farseer trilogy, and it is bothering me because I haven't finished it and I really enjoyed the first 2. And it's been so long now that I couldn't really just pick up from where I left off. I'd have to reread book 3, and I'd have to get Vicky to remind me what happened in book 1 or 2. If there was an audio book version of them, which there probably is, I should probably just buy the audiobook version of book 3 so that I finish it, because they were really good. So I'm listening to a lot of audiobooks, not as many as I would like. But yeah, the physical book, that's the last one I physically read. Next question from Cesar. Do I have a favourite or top 3 or 5 publisher? I do have some favourite publishers, but bearing in mind, a lot of people might view my answers as biased, because a lot of these publishers who are my favourite publishers are actually clients of mine. And that's not, they aren't my favourite publishers because they're clients. They're clients because they're my favourite publishers. So if we talk about, let's talk about them again, Chip Theory Games. Chip Theory Games became one of my clients, and they don't use me for a lot of things, but I have done a couple of bits of work for them, so they are technically a client. I don't have any videos lined up for them at the moment. I've done dozens of games on Cloudspire and Too Many Bones on the channel, and I've done some for Hopla Markers as well. None of those were paid for. But Chip Theory Games, I think, are an amazing publisher. The people behind Chip Theory Games are great. The amount of creativity that goes into all of their games, and the amount of work and effort and the design and the development, it's a huge amount. I have massive respect for all of the people who work at Chip Theory Games, and I've got to know some of them over the years, and I've become friends with some of them as well, and I've done some paid work for them. So yeah, Chip Theory Games, definitely one of my favourite publishers. Czech Games Edition as well. I mean, without Czech Games Edition, there probably wouldn't be a Gaming Rules. I don't really do any work for them anymore, which has been just a disappointing turn of events. But, you know, they're still doing really good stuff, and there's still a lot of really good people who work at CGE. I've got a lot of time for some of the people who work there, and I think as a publisher, I think they are doing some really, really good stuff. They had a few years where it was a bit of a dip, and they weren't doing things that were that good. But yeah, the last few years, they've been doing some really, really good stuff. Trying to think of other ones. No, Vicky said something, but then changed their mind. There's a lot of them. And if you are a publisher who is a client of mine, and you're offended by the fact that I didn't mention your name, then I apologise. Because there are a lot of really, really good publishers out there who I have a lot of time for. And it's hard for me sometimes, because I look at a publisher like Inside Up Games, and I've only really got to know them in the last couple of years. And Connor, who's the guy who's, you know, in charge of the company, he's a super nice guy, and I've actually become friends with him over the last couple of years, and that is just due to meeting him and talking to him and everything else. But then that friendship has turned into, well, you know, I do videos, right? Well, do you want me to do some videos for you, kind of thing? And he said, oh yeah, we'd love you to do some videos. So I've started doing some videos for them, and I now have a professional arrangement with them, but that came afterwards. And when I look at what they're doing and the kind of games that they're publishing, and I see the behind the scenes, the amount of time and effort that they're putting into their games, and the passion and the love behind it and things like that, that's what I really like. And there are a lot of really good publishers out there who do that sort of thing. Right, next question from Alexis. Am I attending Gen Con this year? I am not attending Gen Con this year. I have spoken about this before, but I'll mention it again. Is that I actually received an offer from a publisher who I've done some work for to attend Gen Con this year if I was to demo a game at their booth, which I would be happy to do because I love demoing games. They would pay for my flights, they would pay for my hotel, they would pay for my time. It was great. It was really, really good offer. Except Gen Con this year is on the 4th of August, and me and Vicky are getting married on the 4th of August. So, yeah. Maybe next year. I have actually gone back to them and I've said, look, if you want me to go to Gen Con next year, if you are still going to have a booth at Gen Con 2024, and you want me to demo your game for you, and you are happy to pay for me to be there, I will more than happy to go to Gen Con. I love Gen Con. It's possibly my favourite convention that I've ever been to. And I really enjoyed the few years that I was able to go to Gen Con, and I miss going to it, and I miss some of the people that I would only see at Gen Con. So I would like to go back. I just, yeah, just need that opportunity. Next question from Elaine. Any update on the Glade? Yes, I have an update for you on the Glade as of 2 hours ago. 2 hours ago, Mr. Richard Breeze sent me an email, which I have put, where have I put it? I've put it somewhere. Now, I don't know if this is public information, so I might not be allowed to share it, but where is it? It's here somewhere. I filed it away. I don't know where I filed it away. Anyway, Richard said to me that he's had some delays. He's had to put it back a bit, but he now has a date for it. So, yeah, keep an eye on that. Yeah, that'll be going live at some point. As I say, I don't know whether I'm allowed to share the date, so I probably best not. But I'll tell you later on, Elaine. Next question from Caesar. How many games a year do I receive for free / review? And how many do I purchase on my own accord? I will be honest with you, and a lot of people will get very, very jealous about this, but I don't know the last time. Okay, no, I do. The only games that I think I have bought on my own, what are you thinking? Oh, that doesn't count. Marvel Champions card game and Arkham Horror card game. They are probably the only two things, because I have a up and down relationship with Asmodee UK. It's currently up, but sometimes it has been down. So there's been a lot of packs for Marvel Champions and a lot of stuff for Arkham Horror that I've bought myself. The last game that we actually bought was Telestrations. Now, why did we... So it was going cheap. It was going cheap. It was £12.50 in-game, in Taunton, and we bought it because it was New Year's Eve. And we wanted a fun, silly party game for New Year's Eve. And in fact, we'd played Telestrations the New Year's Eve before that, and I just made my own version with pieces of paper and a pen, and then we saw it for £12.50, and we went, why don't we just buy this? Because it's got the wipe-off sheets, it would be much easier. So yeah, so we bought Telestrations. But the reality is, I don't really buy many games, and that is because I do get sent games that I'm covering on the channel. For example, Princes of Florence. I have not bought this copy of Princes of Florence. This has been sent to me because I'm creating a video on it, and that is a standard process. If you are a content creator and you are going to be producing some video coverage for a game, especially if it's paid for, you will get sent a copy of the game in order to be able to create that content. That's how it works. Because this is my full-time job and I create a lot of content for a lot of different games, that means I acquire a lot of new games each year that are sent to me because I'm covering them on the channel. In addition to that, I have a good working relationship with many publishers who reach out to me and say, Paul, we're not looking for any sponsored content for this game, but would you like to have a copy of it? Because they know that I'm going to get that game, I'm going to play it, I'll talk about it in my monthly video log, I will take it to a local games club. So many publishers, you know, whether I like it or not, and Vicky disagrees with me on this, I am technically an influencer. Now, I don't like to think of myself as an influencer. I like to think of myself as just a guy who likes playing games, who makes videos. But some people are influenced by the things that I say and the games that I'm playing. And publishers know that. So when publishers send me a free copy of a game, they're doing it because they know it's part of the marketing budget, you know, and that's how it works. So yeah, so I'm quite lucky in a way that I am now established enough that I get that. Now, I will say that over the last couple of years, I have started saying no to publishers that just reach out to me saying, we'd like to send you a review copy of a game. And the reason why I've said no to that is I simply don't have time to cover all of the games that I've got, let alone all of the new games that arrive. And for me, I had this growing negative feeling every time I looked across at my gaming shelves and I went, oh yeah, a publisher reached out to me and offered me a copy of Game X. And I said, oh yes, yeah, if you want to send it to me, that's great. And I may have even done an unboxing video for Game X. And then it sits there on the shelf collecting dust. And the reality is, I'm never going to play it. I'm never going to get time to play it. So over the last 6 months to a year, I've actually been saying no. If you want to send me a review copy of a game, Unless it's a game which I'm really actively interested in, I will generally say no to a copy of it, because I don't want the bad feelings of me not covering it on the channel, and I don't want the bad feelings for the publisher thinking, wait a minute, we sent Paul a copy of the game. Why is he not covered it on the channel? So, yeah. Now, just noticed, Mr. O'Toole is in the chat. Hi, Ian, or Sir Ian O'Toole, as I called you the other day on Discord. I think, to be honest, I think we should have our own knighting system for people in the board game industry, and I think Ian should definitely be a Sir. So yeah, so Sir Ian O'Toole. Will I be at Spiel this year? I will absolutely be at Spiel. There will be the Gaming Rules meetup on the Thursday night, but yeah, drop me a message on Discord, Ian, and we can meet up and we can have a chat, and yeah, be good to see you again. It's been a while. So how many games do I receive a year for free stroke review? What you need to do is you need to add on to that, because I'm also covering them on the channel. In terms of numbers, it's probably 50. I'm going to say 50. It's about 50. I mean, if we look this year at the games that I've covered on the channel recently, well, Princes of Florence is going to get covered. Draft and Write Records. The Steffenfeld City Collection games. You know, I've done videos for those. So yeah, so there's all of these games and they all add up. What have I got over there? I've got Voidfall. There's a copy of Voidfall, which is a production copy of Voidfall. There is the new Fighting Fantasy Adventures, although that's a prototype. So that game is gonna get, you know, thrown away after I've done the video on it, because it is a prototype. It isn't finished artwork, but I will get a final copy of the game as well. Cantaloupe, books 1 and 2 of Cantaloupe. We're not going to cover them on the channel because of spoilers, but I have a good relationship with Lookout Games, and they sent me them. I'll talk about them on the channel when we've played them. What else have we got down there? I think that's probably it for there. Oh, Trials of Tempest. Trials of Tempest is going to get covered in the channel in 2 weeks' time as well. So yeah, it's probably about 50 games, something like that. Next question from Scott. If a game that is on Kickstarter doesn't offer a UK pledge or European, how many of any bad feelings are there? So Scott is based in the US, and they get pretty bummed if games are only offered to the European community. As somebody, as I've just sort of mentioned, I'm not really a backer of games myself on Kickstarter, but I can tell you from the supporters on the Patreon channel that there is quite a bad feeling, especially in the UK because of a little thing called Brexit. The shipping costs and the customs duty to get games delivered is shocking. It's a lot. So rather than where we were 2 or 3 years ago, where things were advertised as EU friendly, and what that meant is that you were fine, you know, you paid the shipping costs and everything else. Now in the UK, if it says EU friendly, it doesn't mean anything. EU friendly, doesn't apply to us. We're not in the EU anymore. So yeah, yeah, I'm probably not the best person to answer that, because it doesn't directly affect me, but I can tell you that there are, and it works both ways. Talking about the latest Kickstarter from Spielworks, which is El Burro, which is effectively the new version of La Granja. There wasn't a US cheap delivery option. So backers in the US were like, we don't want to pay $80 for the game and another $80 to have it delivered to us. And I think what you're saying, Scott, is, yeah, people were pretty bummed in the US that there just wasn't a shipping option to the US. It is the same over here from people that I've spoken to. Next question from Vicky, talking about Netflix stroke Disney Plus stroke Prime. What are we currently watching stroke have watched recently? What would you say was amazing and worth the watch? So we can talk about that quite easily. We don't watch as much telly as we'd like. Part of that is down to the fact that we're just so busy. Certainly in the last week has been really bad. It's been like 9:30, 10 o'clock where I've stopped work, at which point it's too late to do anything. But we are 2 seasons into The Expanse at the moment. We've just finished, well, what, before I went to Expo? So yeah, we're 2 seasons into The Expanse. Loving it. Think it's fantastic. Not quite what I was expecting in terms of, I thought it was going to be just hard science fiction and more about the political shenanigans between the three different factions, and not want to give any spoilers away, but I didn't realise there was going to be the weird stuff that there is in it. Not that that's a problem, but yeah, I wasn't expecting that. We are due to watch Series 3 of The Mandalorian, which is on our list. We are due to watch the last season of Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We are due to watch Andor, which I'm really looking forward to because everybody said Andor has been fantastic. Yeah, so they're ones that we've watched recently. I mean, Vicky watches a lot more TV than me. You're watching lots of American series and stuff. The one that I was really disappointed by, if we're talking about... Oh, no, you don't want disappointing ones. You want just amazing and worth the watch. So, yeah, definitely The Expanse. That's been on my list to watch for many years. Yeah, I'd probably say that one. Right. We are at 6:20. So I'm going to say that this is the cut-off point. So no more questions, please. If you have any burning questions, I will be here next month, 12th of July. Same time, same place. Possibly still in the desert. So Adrian says, please describe how hot it is in the studio just using board game terms. Exhaustion. Tapped. Fatigue. Yeah, I mean, board game terms. It's probably about it. I think that yeah, good question, but no, this room is just ridiculously hot. And we were playing Voidfall in here on Monday afternoon, and we had the windows open because it was a behind-the-scenes video. I can have the windows open, but when we're doing a sponsored playthrough, I can't have the windows open because of the background noise. And yeah, right now it was just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Right, next question from Caroline. Roman is wondering whether I have played Beast. I have not played Beast. He loved it. You liked it. Nope, not played it. I know Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple has played it, and he posted something about it, but no, not played that one. Next question from Vasper. Do I know if I will make a how to play video for Aeon Trespass Odyssey? So do you want me to let you know where I am with that? Because this is a bit tricky, actually, because I am currently in discussions with the publisher about creating some how to play videos for the game. That's probably all I can really say. Vicky's nodding. Rather than going into the exact details of it, I am currently in discussions with them as of literally this week. I had a meeting with them yesterday, which was a face-to-face meeting, and I have sent them an email today, and it is in discussions. And yeah, if we can make an agreement on them, and it isn't just as simple as, will you do a video? Yes, I'll do a video. It's not as simple as that. There are a lot of different factors to take into account. First of all, there is the money side of things, because it's going to be literally months of work. The second thing is, it's going to literally be months of work. I don't know if I'm able to fit in everything that they want me to be able to fit in. So there are discussions going on about it, and yeah, once a decision is made, I will certainly be announcing it to my Patreon supporters to let them know. Right, next question. Thank you for the Undaunted playthroughs. Is there a theatre you'd like to see Osprey Games cover Ava Battle Britain? Yes, absolutely. Right, so this is a question about the Undaunted series of games. There is absolutely a theatre of the World War II that I was kind of hoping that they would have covered next, and that is the Pacific. And I was a little surprised that they went with Battle of Britain rather than Pacific. Now, I will be honest with you, my subtle attempts to find out what the next game in the Undaunted series was didn't work. Now, here's what I did, right? I have a very good relationship with Osprey Games. I also have a very good relationship with David Thompson, one of the designers. So I went to Osprey Games and I went, oh, hi, Benji. Yeah. I was chatting with Dave Thompson last week. He's told me all about the new Undaunted game. Yeah, it's great what you're doing with it, isn't it? Yeah. Meanwhile, I went to David Thompson and said, yeah, Osprey Games have told me all about the new game in the Undaunted series, so you can tell me all about it. Yeah, anyway, it failed, right? Absolutely failed. They saw through my ruse, and I still don't know what the next game in the Undaunted series is. But I can tell you this. They have been receiving a lot of messages from a lot of people to cover the Pacific theatre of World War II. So they've got to do it. Why wouldn't they do it if there is a demand for it and they can do it? So, yeah, I don't know whether that will be the next one in the series or not. I suspect it might not be, but hopefully they'll do it at some point in future. Next question from Derrickson. What aspects of Formula One would I most like to see in a Formula One board game? Particularly things that are missing from existing racing games. That's a really good question, Derrickson, because as you may know, I've been struggling to find my perfect Formula One racing game. And there are so many out there, and so many of them seem to pretend to do it well, and so many of them fail. But what I would like to see, and this would be possible, but I'd actually like to see a Formula One racing game that isn't just about a particular race. Because for me, as a Formula One fan who watches a season, the season is not just about a single race. The season is about the development race. It's all about the stuff that goes on between races. It's all about tweaks, changes, rules, regulations, all of this sort of thing, which all affect the season. And I find it really fascinating to see how teams develop their car. I mean, specifically, if we look at last year, the Mercedes. So if you're a Formula One fan, you'll know this, but Mercedes, who've literally won everything for the last 7 years, well, not for the last 7 years, but they won everything for like a 7-year stint in a row. There were major regulation changes last year. Red Bull came out with an absolute beast of a car that was beating everybody everywhere, and Mercedes, after being like the top of the field for 7 years, designed a car that was rubbish, right? It was absolute rubbish. It was so slow and so far behind everything. And they constantly developed that car and worked and worked and worked on it so much over the season, and they actually won a race. So by the end of the season, they had won a race. And it was on merit as well, mostly on merit, I think. It wasn't just, complete fluke. So yeah, I think any kind of Formula One game which can simulate a season and the development work that goes on during a season, that would be fantastic to see. But I don't know whether there is one. Yeah, anyway, next. Cesar says, have I checked out the new expansion material for Arc Nova? He says, I think it will fix those problems of look stroke card draw. I've heard about it. I have not been, I'm not lucky enough to have been one of the selected people to be contacted with sneak previews or something like that. But I am very interested in it. I do like the game. And yes, I have heard that it might fix some of the problems with that look stroke card draw. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Beppa says, do I use a third-party app to track my plays? I do not. I just use Board Game Geek. So I literally, when I play a game, I go into Board Game Geek and I log it as a play most of the time. Sometimes I forget. And sometimes, like last night, I even logged my game of Arkham Horror before I'd even played it so that I didn't forget afterwards. But no, I don't use a third-party app. I just use the Board Game Geek interface. Right, we've got 2 questions left. We will be done by 6:30. Fantastic, I've sped up. Right, next question from Jeff. Jeff says, he has the means and the motive to back deluxe all-in versions and usually do. When he looks for content, he looks for gaming rules first. Thank you very much. Do companies consider demographics of followers when commissioning content? Well, I would say yes. I would say that companies definitely consider demographics of followers. If you look at the kind of games that I've covered on my channel, although, to be fair, I actually cover quite a wide variety of games. But let's say, for example, you are a publisher of a pretty heavy, complex game that has an 84-page rulebook, has got a complexity rating of 4.7 on BGG. As a publisher, if you want some how to play videos made for that game, who are you going to go to, right? Are you going to go to other YouTube channels which are known for covering light to medium games? Or are you going to go to other channels where you know that the people on that channel like heavy complex games, but also their audience likes heavy complex games? Because I think, and this is one of the things, I have a Patreon campaign. Many of you watching this are Patreon supporter of mine. Thank you very much for that. And I have a Slack channel. And the Slack channel is for Patreon supporters. So if you are a Patreon supporter of mine, you get access to the Slack channel. Right. On the Slack channel, specifically on the Slack channel, do we have a wide demographic of people that like different types of games? We actually do. And I think that's a really good thing. But the reality is that most of the people who watch my videos probably like the same kind of games that I like. Okay? If you are somebody who only likes party games, let's say the heaviest game that you enjoy playing is Carcassonne. So let's say that you only play party games and you only like Carcassonne. You are probably not watching this video right now. Now, if you are, tell me if I'm wrong, right? So let's say you only play Carcassonne or party games. You are unlikely to even know my channel exists. Therefore, you are unlikely to become a Patreon supporter of mine because 99% of the content is not relevant to you. However, if you like your medium to heavy Euro games, you probably do know about my channel and you probably watch a number of my videos, which means you might become a Patreon supporter of mine. And that's what I'm saying. So the general demographic of people who watch my channel are the ones that like the same type of games that I do. And therefore, I think publishers will take that into account when looking at who are we going to get to do videos. There are some clients that I have who like to use me for videos no matter what the game is. And there are other clients of mine who only use me for certain games because they get other people to cover the lighter games because they know that it suits them more, and they get me to do the heavy games. I think that's just how it works. Right, the final question from Jeremy. And this is, has making videos and creating content for so many games impacted my taste in games? If so, could I describe how? So that's actually a really good question to finish on. Has it? Right. Well, the story that I've been telling for quite a few years now is that over the last 5 or 6 years, my tastes have been not changing, but they've been becoming more eclectic, if that's the right word to use. Is that the right word to use? More, they're wider, right? So 10 years ago, I didn't see the point of cooperative games, right? I literally thought there is no point playing a cooperative. What is the point? I don't understand cooperative games at all. Maybe slightly more than 10 years ago. Now, I prefer cooperative games to competitive games. So my tastes have evolved, and they've grown and they've expanded. Also, 10 years ago, games with dice, games where there was dice for resolution or random resolution, I would avoid them like the plague. Now, I play some of them, but generally only if they're cooperative games. And here's the thing. If a game has got massive amounts of roll for resolution, and it's a competitive game, I don't generally like that. But in a cooperative game, that's fine. And there are games that I've covered on the channel recently. You know, when I covered Apex Legends on the channel, I didn't think I was going to enjoy Apex Legends. None of my viewers thought I was going to enjoy Apex Legends. Some people probably thought, oh, Paul's being paid to make a video here, so he's clearly pretending to enjoy himself. No, we were actually enjoying ourselves. The game was really good. It was a huge amount of fun to play. My tastes have evolved and changed. Now, whether they have changed and evolved because I've started creating content and working in the industry, or would they have evolved anyway? I don't know. I don't think anybody can answer that question. What I will say, though, is that since leaving my previous career and working full-time in the games industry, and don't get me wrong, my life is not playing games 7 days a week. That's not what I do. You might think that's what I do, but trust me, it's not what I do. A lot of what I do is proper work. Some of it is playing games, which is great. But because it is my job, I do get exposure to a lot more games than I would have done normally. And I do get to play a lot more games than I would have done normally. And one of the things which I am very, very happy about, just ending this Q&A on a hugely positive note for a change, is that I am more passionate about the hobby now than I was 10 years ago. Working in the industry has not dulled my excitement for games in any way. It has not spoilt my enjoyment of playing games at all in any way. And when I sit down and I get to play a game, I still enjoy it probably more now than I ever did before. I've gained more of an appreciation for good designs, and I've gained less tolerance for bad designs. And thankfully, because there's so many games coming out these days, we can all be picky and we can all be choosy. And I will be honest with you, I do get some emails through from publishers about games that they have done that they want me to cover on the channel. And I look at them and I am able to say no, because they look terrible. And I have no interest in them whatsoever. There's a lot of games coming out there. And then when I get the opportunity to work with some publishers that are so good to work with. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been some publishers I've had over the years that have not been good to work with. But there are some publishers now who I work with them, and literally working with them is a pleasure. It's hard work. It's really hard work at times. But when you are working with a small team of people and you're all on the same page and you're wanting the same thing and you're all working stuff and you're all passionate about the project and you're trying to make it work and do the best thing you can, then that's a really good thing to have. And I've had some really good relationships that have built up because of it. So specifically, when I worked with the main designer from ISS Vanguard, working with them on the rules and everything else, that was a really good thing that I enjoyed doing. Unfortunately, that didn't translate into much more future work from the publisher, but that friendship and that relationship that I built up working on there was great. Also, Glass Cannon Unplugged, the work that we did on Frostpunk together, it was great. It was such a bonding experience to work really hard on a project for such an intense length of time on it. So yeah, things like that have made me really appreciate people who are good in the industry, whether that be good designers, good graphic designers, good people at doing game development, and having really good conversations with them has made me really appreciate that a lot more. And as I say, what that's done is it's made me less tolerant when things are bad. Yeah. Anyway, that's about it. So just before we disappear, big thank you to everybody who's been watching this live today. As I mentioned at the start and a couple of times, this video is not sponsored in any way. I don't get any sponsorship money for making these videos. All of the advertising revenue from this video, and in fact, all of the other videos on my channel, goes to charity. And the only way that I'm able to do that is thanks to the support of the Patreon campaign. So if you are one of my Patreon supporters, a huge thank you to you for enabling me to carry on doing what I'm doing. And if you like the content that I create and you want to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/gaming rules. And just one final mention, the contest. If you're just tuning in, we are running a contest. Vicky's going to put a link in the chat. The contest is running from now until the 12th of July. And you can't win a copy of Princess of Florence. This is mine. Get your hands off. But this is the secret word. So what you need to do is you need to go to the link that's been mentioned in the thing. There you go. Link to the contest. Fill in the form. Put in your name. Put in your email address. The secret word is Princess of Florence. And if you are one of my Patreon supporters, I will be doing a live... Wait, in fact, I'm doing two. I'm doing two live playthroughs of this on Friday. One of them will be in the afternoon, which will be a learning game. It'll be a bit rough. And then the one in the evening will be the one that's going to be used for the game. The first video that we do in the afternoon will never go public. As I say, that'll be a very rough behind the scenes video. The second video I do will go public in hopefully a week or two's time. But yeah, if you're a patron supporter, you get early access to watching us film it. That's happening on Friday. But for now, we're all done. We're going to head downstairs and get some dinner. And then I'm going to do some more emails, I think, unfortunately. Yeah, it's going to be one of those nights. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Take care. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.